It's your man Leo Brown here one more time, hanging with Barrels and Leafs, and I am being joined by a couple of good people here. To my left is Mr. Curtis, to my right is Mr. Marty, and they are Second Chance Brewing. So welcome in, gentlemen. Thank you for joining today.
Glad to be here.
Hi. Thanks for the invite.
Cool. I know that last time that we got together was at the actual brewery. And I'm sorry, excuse me, by the way, we also have SD Beer Girl in the house as well joining. Thank you for coming. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what we did last time when we actually met up. And like I said, I came out there and talked to you guys. And that was a great time actually seeing the tasting room, seeing what was going on, how you guys actually do things. And to be honest with you, I was rather impressed because being a small facility, you guys really have a very good looking system. It looks like it's very reasonable in how it actually functions. So you guys, first off, just tell us a little bit of the history behind Second Chance Brewing. How'd you guys get started? Whichever you guys want to go.
Yeah, sure. Well, Curtis and I have known each other for quite a long time, and I talked about opening a brewery for many years. And for me, I got involved early in the 90s, home brewing. Just really enjoyed it. Always grew up around lots of great big Italian families, so a lot of great cooks.
You're Italian?
And
We both are.
You're Italian?
Yeah.
I didn't see it in you, but I definitely saw it in you.
I'm half. I'm on my mom's side. He's full.
Okay.
Hey, you don't look Italian.
so yeah, they made wine and always great. Love really good cooks, and I just got drawn into homebrewing and enjoyed it so much. Someone told me about going to UC Davis to a Master Brewers program.
Right.
So I did that in '97, and went out to Colorado for a few years as an assistant. There was only 8 breweries in 1997 in San Diego, so there wasn't a lot of jobs.
8.
Yeah, 8.
Yeah, less than 10. He just said 8. for the younger people who are like 8.
So I went out to Colorado for a few years. I had done some odd jobs for Carl Strauss, and Stone was just starting around that time, and so then I was fortunate enough to come back to San Diego to Rock Bottom Brewery in La Jolla.
Right.
Ended up being over there for 15 years. It's kind of a cool story. The original owner of Rock Bottom was Frank Day, from a restaurateur from Colorado.
Right.
And he had a real kind of Colorado kind of frontier kind of a spirit, and so he used to let, even though there's rock bottoms across the country,
Yes.
Each one was pretty much allowed to be operated independently in a way, but still have the corporate background. So, long story short, it allowed me to brew my own recipes, try my own techniques, and not really be bothered by a boss or policies that I couldn't be free to experiment. So
Right.
I was at Rock Bottom from '99 till 2015 when we got Second Chance going. So that was really formative years for the San Diego beer scene. So I was very fortunate to come up with Stone coming online with us, Greg Cook and Steve Wagner, and just getting to be a part of Tommy Arthur and Tom Nickel and all these really great longtime San Diego brewers.
Right.
And Curtis started managing the restaurant and started getting more and more involved in beer, and the more events that we started to do, we did a lot of beer and food events with the chef there, and we started both to realize that it'd be kind of cool to do our own brewery.
Why not, right?
So the two of us, along with my wife Virginia, who's our third co-founder,
Right.
both of these two basically, I'm more of the, I don't know,
Behind the scenes
I'm more
guy.
of the dreamer, I guess. And
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to open a brewery, but getting through the nuts and bolts of actually, the financials of actually doing it
Right.
And then that's where this guy comes in to actually get the ball rolling and help us get formed and
right
and off and running.
So you guys open up. You said 2015, right?
Yeah, September of 2015.
September 2015.
Yeah.
So
Labor Day.
on Labor Day.
Yeah.
Labor Day, and start opening up your own place.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, when did you get started in brewing?
Well, so I met Marty. I moved to San Diego in 2003, and I started working at the downtown Rock Bottom. For those of us that remember that store, it's no longer there. I was in a gas lamp. I worked there for 2 years, and then I transferred up to La Jolla, and that's when I met Marty. And worked there. I left a little bit less than a year before Marty did. I left in 2014, end of 2014.
Right.
We already knew that we were planning on opening and all that, but yeah, I worked there with Marty for about 10 years. And craft beer had been going a long time in San Diego already, but just drinking the great beers that Marty was brewing. And like I said, over the years, Marty talking about opening a place. I went to San Diego State. I went back to get my MBA. I think I finished 2009. God, it's been 10 years already. And then just the dream of opening your own place in this great beer town just made sense, and so we went for it and not look back.
Right. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. By the way, you guys, once again, thank you guys for hanging with Barrels and Leafs. I have Curtis and Marty here with me from Second Chance Brewing, and we are actually smoking on the My Father La Antigudad today. And Marty or Curtis, why don't you guys tell us what we're actually pairing with today?
So this is our we call it the barrel experience, and so since every barrel can be a unique experience,
yes,
we have various journeys. This is a journey 2. This is coconut macaroon. So this was 28 months Imperial Stout, 28 months.
Oh, you got to try this. You've got to try this. Wow.
28 months in Woodford Reserve barrels, and then finished with toasted coconut, toasted macadamia nuts, and a little bit of coconut sugar to kind of brighten it up and wake it up a little bit after over 2 years in a barrel.
Wow.
And,
so
we've done various journeys. We've done s'mores version. We've done just straight coffee versions. We have various beers aging in the barrels.
Right.
Besides Imperial Stout, we have some Scotch ale aging. We have some rum barrels. We have some various whiskey barrels, and some wine barrels.
wow.
So the idea is just it's all hand. It's very time consuming and manual because it's all hand. We take it out of the barrel by hand. We bottle it by hand. We label it by hand. So it's very small. Only sold in our tasting rooms. Only about 120 bottles. So it's just a fun way for us to learn more about the barrels and gain more experience.
So it's definitely a limited release.
Yeah.
So what barrel is it aged in?
This was a Woodford Reserve.
Woodford.
Bourbon. Yeah.
Okay.
They're one of the few that make their own barrels, and the quality of the barrel is
Phenomenal.
really nice. They're really tight and perfectly made barrels.
So got a couple of people watching that I want to say hello to. My man Brett up in New York. What's going on, big dog? Ron Penn is in the house. Joshua Rushing said, wish I was in Texas with cats right now. Don't know what that means, Josh. I'm not sure. Says Karen. What's going on, Roy? Mr. Rick Fernandez is in the house from 3 and 1. Mr. Noble Berry, he's here. Miss Rosita Gonzalez is in the house. And Brian Lewis, Jeff Milton. You guys know Jeff from Abnormal Beer?
I'm not sure. Do we, Marty? Is that the guy that Jake knows? I'm not sure if that's the guy that Jake knows.
Not sure.
Yeah, we have they're right across the highway from us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, across 15.
Right.
Doing a great job.
But Jeff, we are smoking the La Antigudad today from My Father, which so far is going okay with this beer.
It's working out.
Right? So I don't think we have any complaints as of yet. So what, just as a Josh said it's a cat fest, the Cats Fest Cigar Festival. Okay, I trust you, bro.
Yeah.
I still don't know, but I trust you. It sounds good. So what's the most tedious things that you guys think as far as brewing beer is?
What do you mean?
So, like here at Excalibur, of course, everyone knows I work here.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most tedious things may be like cleaning the bathroom. What's maybe one of the most tedious things about brewing beer? I mean, is it the cleaning process? Is it making sure that the measurements or the recipes are right? What's one of the things that really kind of stands out? Like, okay, we got to make sure that this is done this way.
Well, for me, two things. If you're talking purely about the brewing, yes, brewing is probably 60% cleaning.
Okay.
So basically, I sometimes describe myself as a professional cleaner who gets to brew once in a while.
Right.
Because you're basically keeping the tanks as clean as possible, all the parts and the whole environment.
Do you guys use Spick and Span or Windex or anything?
We use much heavier hitting stuff than that.
Right.
Yeah. So being safe around like such strong chemicals, keeping the stainless clean, but also not damaged.
Right.
By these some of these kind of cleaners. I'm a very like I would say very clean.
So you're a tedious
brewer.
person.
Well, I don't know. Tedious doesn't sound so.
Not as good.
Doesn't sound nice. Let's say.
Can I say meticulous?
Fastidious.
And I'll
Yes.
give you an
Okay.
example. I'll give you an example. Before Marty and I left Rock Bottom,
Right.
The gentlemen that were a couple years ahead of us, Travis and Doug at Society, when they were planning on opening, they knew Marty already, and they were going around to a lot of breweries, and a lot of them in San Diego, and coming in and talking shop with brewers they know, and looking at their equipment, getting ideas about how to configure what manufacturers use and all that.
Right.
And they came in one day and talked to Marty, and they looked at his brew house. And I think I don't remember if it was Travis or Doug, but one of them was like, "Oh, was this like 3 or 4 years old?" And Marty's like, "No, it's like over 10 years old." And they were looking at his kettle, they were looking at his mash tun, and it was just immaculate.
Wow.
And they were like, "Man, we go around everywhere, and like I cannot believe this equipment is this age and looking this good." And I always remember that to this day. So
Wow.
good, it ties in nicely with what you're saying. He's known as being one of the most meticulous. I like that word better.
Yeah.
About cleanliness, because that's super important.
It is
in the brewing world.
What also gets you off on the right foot if you start with everything nice and clean. We all have access to the same malt and the same hops, and you can buy, a plethora of yeast. You can manipulate the water a little bit depending on how much you want to filter it, or if you have a very expensive reverse osmosis system.
Right.
So y'all have access to pretty much the same ingredients. So it comes down to cleanliness, yeast health. So how well you really care for your yeast and keep it healthy and have really good, strong fermentations, so you get the best flavors.
Yeah.
So much beer out there now is, there's tons of excellent, great beers, but sometimes we taste beers that are just not being made properly, just maybe a sluggish fermentation, or who knows what the case may be. But so anyway, I like to get off on the right foot with everything.
Sure.
Everything clean. Super important to take care of the yeast and have good, healthy, strong yeast. And then there's all different variations on how we can do things like dry hopping. You ask 10 brewers how to dry hop, you're probably getting 10 different answers. Yeah. So everything can be a little bit different. You can tweak the temperatures, the time, the techniques, and so that's why there's over 150 breweries in San Diego County now, because everyone has their little idea, and usually they work out well. And we have various specialties. Some do more, sour and barrel aging.
Right.
Some do more clean. We tend to be a little bit more on the British and Belgian style with American. Of course, we have 5 different IPAs, and but we do a lot, like we're just moving those cans over our Mulligan Irish Red, very traditional, balanced Irish red ale also goes great with a.
And that's
right
the
kind of a
mulligan
cigar.
that's in
The
front of us,
mulligan.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The Tagarossa Porter, also very traditional English style porter. Fortunate enough to win gold twice at the Great American Beer Festival.
Yes.
And that is an excellent beer with a cigar. It's different than what we're drinking because it's only 6%, but it's more dry and roasty. It finishes really light.
Okay.
For a big dark beer. Disco Balloon is something I really enjoy with cigars. It's a hazy IPA, and we have a whole plethora of hazy IPAs out there with lower bitterness,
Right.
and much more fruity hop notes. But what I like about the hazies is the thicker, typically flaked oats and wheat is used in a hazy, and it seems to pair better with the smoke for me.
Okay.
You have the warm smoke in your mouth, the thicker mouthfeel of the hazy seems to not only kind of cleanse and refresh your mouth, but also leaves it with a little bit of a residual.
Yeah.
And so I think this is why when we talked about this big imperial stout that we're drinking with the coconut, macadamia nuts, and a lot of bourbon flavors, but also a little vanilla and kind of coconut
Yes.
that kind of get
Yes.
coaxed out of the wood after so long, and then pairing it. So why did you choose this cigar given on these flavors?
That's it's a very good question, Marty. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
asking. No, the reason I actually chose this is because a little bit of the earthiness, and when you were talking about the sweetness that you added with the sugar.
Mhm.
So the sugar is going to help bring out a little bit more from that earthiness to kind of mellow it out on the backside. And the chocolate notes that actually come from the La Antigudad is also very, very pronounced. I'm not sure if you guys can really taste it or not, but it's pretty pronounced. And it, to me, with the coconut and chocolate, it's a nice pastry kind of mix. So I figured that one would not overpower the other.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you guys thinking? Is the beer overpowering, or is the cigar overpowering, or is it kind of like right there in the middle, or what do you think?
No, it brings out. I like because it is a bigger beer. I mean, it's 10.7, but like Marty said, it's barrel aged. So although it is incredibly smooth, which is great. It's not. It's got a lot of the whiskey flavor from the barrel, but it's, even though it's got the macadamia nuts, coconut sugar, it is exceptionally smooth. But it is a bigger beer, so I like that you chose. I mean, you chose something that can stand up to it. Where I'm not sure on the strength level. Where would you put this?
This is more of a medium body
Okay,
smoke.
so yeah, like I was gonna guess like medium plus.
Medium
so
plus
they-
towards the end once it starts to get a little bit more heated, but yeah.
Okay. It does stand up to it because if you go back and forth, kind of like you do with food pairings, I like to, kind of I'll take a swig or two and just kind of get my mouth used to whatever the beer is, and then try some of the food, and then kind of go back and forth and see how they play off each other. And I've been doing that as we've been talking with these two,
Right.
and it is quite nice. Like, you're left with, after you have some of this and then you take a draw, you're left with what I imagine is what they want you to get from this. Like, you get that earthiness that comes through because this is sweeter, but the blending of the two together is quite nice. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would say so that was part one of my answer on that question. The other part
To part two,
Stole the thunder.
paragraph 2.
The thing I think a lot of people forget about is you're not just brewing beer, and you asked about more of a tedious. And I think for me personally, I like to be busy brewing, and so running the business, dealing with the financials and the cash flow and
Right.
sales and insurance and all that stuff is what gets to be tedious for me. Curtis kind of likes the numbers.
Right.
A tiny bit more than I do, but
Probably because he's concerned about his own numbers.
Gotta do it, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's going on, Mr. Brady Hyatt? Brady is a cigar maker himself.
Mhm.
He has a line called Jeremy Jack, which is immensely found here in the San Diego area and also the Wyoming area.
Mm.
Brady's a good guy. Love him, miss him. Hope to see you soon, man. Mr. Marvin Winters, what's going on, man? Josh said that you should eat some baklava with that. It would most likely go good with it. Okay. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. So, what's the highest ABV that you guys have in your beers? Because I've seen like 16 and 19, which makes me know that I'm only going to have one. But what's the highest ABV that you guys have?
This is it. I think our barrel experience beers are our highest, around 10.7. Yeah, we're not super. I don't think we chase alcohol as much as flavor,
right,
and quality.
Rookie mistake.
That's what happens. Talk with your hands.
Rookie mistake, man.
It's Italian. Yeah, some Italian in you, maybe. Yeah. So for us, starting with the clean, balanced flavors, and then we kind of worry about the alcohol.
Okay.
Kind of secondary.
All right.
Because still 8.5%. You don't drink 8.5% double IPAs. I mean, that's still
It's hefty.
Pretty strong, and yeah. So, but they all have their place. These big barrel aged beers are nice for the right occasions, the right times.
And a lot of times I find that with your barrel aged stuff, you really want to share those. It's not something that you really want to drink by yourself. And I guess that goes into kind of the whole beer sharing adventure of it. But I know that there's some high ABV hazies, or not hazy, but IPAs, and most of the ales. Would you say that they don't really reach too high of an ABV?
No, I think there's for any particular category there's what's traditional, but what's also pushing boundaries. As you know, craft beer is kind of known for that. When we were just in DC at Sabre, there was like an 8.5% Helles that I tried, which was definitely not really category normal, I guess you would say. It was interesting. It's a lot of brewers love to push the envelope. So regardless of ale or lager, I think you can be all over the board with ABV. There's what's traditional for the category, but then there are some breweries that are even founded on not doing any beers that are quote unquote traditional in terms of category.
Okay.
So it's really just the sky's the limit, I think, in terms of style and incongruence ABV.
And I just learned something as of recently. Hey, what's going on, Dave? Dave Conkle from Mike Hess, and Mike said 8.5 is good. I think that's probably a good medium. But I just learned something the other day as far as like categories of beers, and like you were saying, some beers aren't made for category. So there's like a traditional categories, I guess, and then there's like style categories, and then there's the like no category at all. Like I was told that the Belching Beaver peanut butter stout is not in a category whenever it comes to judging. So I guess that was made just because of taste. So do you guys have any beers that are like made for style? Obviously you guys have won 2 awards. So tell us a little bit more about those awards and how did it actually, what went into the winnings of that award?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. So the porter, we won a lot more than 2 awards, by the way.
You talked about 2.
Okay,
You talked about 2.
All right.
Back to back. Yeah.
You talked about 2.
But yeah, you're right. If you're going to enter the beer in a category like a robust porter, the judges are guided by the style description,
correct,
based on color, alcohol, bitterness, but also the flavor and aroma of both the hops and the malt. And so, if the beer is going to win in a category, it pretty much has to hit all the notes of, a porter should be, fairly roasty, but also have a little bit of a bitterness, a bite, if you will, or a bitterness from the black malt.
Okay.
But it shouldn't be like overly, ashy or smoky. So it's kind of a combination of a toastiness from the malt with a little bit of that black malt acridness.
Okay.
But then you know I hear what you're saying about like a peanut butter milk stout, because this beer, I don't know what to enter this in, because it's barrel aged, but then it has, you know, coconut and macadamia nuts, so you have to put that in like experimental category. There's not really a
true category for it.
Category for barrel aged beers with nuts and
okay.
So yeah, you have to be a little bit creative, and sometimes you have to, you know, drink the beer and then look at the style. And I've seen plenty of beers win awards, not on the so-called style that's listed on the package.
Right.
So it might say, you know, something IPA, but then it wins in like a pale ale category, because maybe it's a lighter IPA and they realize this is not going to compete against the big heavy IPA.
Yeah.
So
what's some of you guys' favorite beers out there? You guys go ahead and type it in out there. What are some of your favorite craft beers? I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the United States, whether we've heard of the companies or not. These guys have probably heard of the companies, not me. But just type them in. Tell us what kind of beers that you actually like. What kind of which ones that really stand out to you? Because I know SD Beer Girl, Miss Debbie Trujillo, she has gone all over the country, who's here with us today, and she has gone and tried a ton of beers. We talked about that before, and it's kind of hard for her to kind of pick out which beers are better. It's kind of like somebody asking me, like, you know, well, what's your favorite cigar? It's like,
how much time do you have? And
yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I got a whole top list of 100 that we can go through, you know. But yeah, you guys type in and tell us what kind of beers that you guys actually like, which ones stand out to you. And if it's not second chance, that's fine. We'll give you a pass this time.
Hey, we like plenty of other beers.
Right.
In fact, we were just fortunate enough to be invited to go to Saber, which is the largest beer and food pairing event in the country. It was at in Washington D.C. Last week, and it was Second Chance, along with Society and Lost Abbey, were the only San Diego beers or breweries invited to come to Saber. So we were you know, really stoked to be in that company and be able to go for our first time.
Right.
But it's cool because breweries from around the country, and every beer you bring 2 beers, and we actually did bring the coconut macaroon and the mulligan Irish red. Okay. And every beer is paired with a little food bite. Okay. And so there's, you know, a big you know, offering of beer and food pairings. So it took a while to make it around. Of course, I didn't try everything because there's 90 breweries and 180 beers.
You didn't get around all those beers? You didn't try them all?
Not quite. But some really stood out. We've really found some nice beers from around the country, and yeah, it's a really cool event. We love. We don't have a kitchen ourselves,
right?
So we look out for you know, various chefs around San Diego to have pairings. Okay. With I mean, Chef Chewy is a great one from the Good Seafood Company. Tyson Blake over at O'Brien's does a lot of beer events, and he's become quite brilliant at the beer and food interactions. Oh yeah. Okay. So we try to do what we can, and we've had a few events at the brewery. It's a little difficult for us not having all the plates and facilities, but that's a big thing for us. So we were very stoked to be there, and the beer went over real well. It was paired with that coconut macaroon, actually, and that was a total very complimentary pairing. Obviously, kind of big chocolatey coconut notes from both. The mulligan Irish red was actually paired a little bit differently with a little puff pastry with some Gruyere cheese and caramelized onions inside, and that paired really nicely with the kind of toastiness, caramel notes.
In case you guys can't tell, these guys are all about food, and I'm a foodie myself. This beer pairing with food is really making me hungry right now, Marty. Thank you very much. I do have one of the cigar makers on. His name is Skip Martin. He makes a Roma craft cigar, and he's a huge craft beer man. So
where is he based out of?
Based out of corporate office is based out of Austin, Texas, but the cigars are Nicaraguan.
Okay.
And Skip and I, we've talked about some hip hop. We've talked about beers. And Skip, I promise you this time, I'm gonna bring you a bottle of something that I'm sure you haven't had, because Second Chance is something that is localized to San Diego. So I was trying to make sure that I bring you something from Second Chance Beer, man. He posts with cigars and beer and stuff like that all the time. So he's a huge craft beer fan.
Although I will say we just entered the Arizona market in February, so we're now distributed in Arizona, and then we're starting to get up to Orange County.
Okay.
And hopefully LA and Riverside later this year. So.
There it is, Arizona. Look out.
Yeah.
So, anything interesting or new that may be happening with Second Chance? I mean, maybe I know you guys got 2 locations, one in Carmel Mountain, and the other one is in North Park.
North Park, yeah, right on 30th.
Anything new? Maybe a 3rd location or something like that. A new beer coming out.
We're always looking for that opportunity to have another tasting room, probably North County or out Orange County would probably be our next. I'd really like to have a small brewery if possible, maybe a little 5-barrel system to be able to knock out some fun, maybe higher ABV type experimental beers there.
Okay. Maybe more barrel age.
Yeah, always up for that. We're fortunate to have not only get barrels from Kentucky and from Northern California if we're looking for wine barrels, but we also have Cutwater Spirits,
right,
and a number of other great distilleries now popping up in San Diego, and so we're able to snag some fresh barrels right from down the street. So that's been really cool. But no, like Curtis said, we've expanded our distribution, and so we're kind of focusing on increasing distribution, our canning, quality control, things like that, and focusing our resources and energies into that right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know that, like I said, last time I was there, I talked to you guys about the name Second Chance and what it meant to me. And just a little bit of a personal story, you guys. My mother was in a very bad car accident back in the days, and basically she broke everything from the hips down, and she recovered from that, and very, very positive motivation and inspiration for me. And later on in some years, she had a mild heart attack, and I was sitting in the hospital, and I said, you know what, you got a second chance at life, and this was back in the early 2000s. I said, Mom, you got a second chance at life. I said, I want to try to do something for you, so I made these wristlets, right, that said second chance on them, and they were in red because she had a heart attack. And I never really did anything with it. And I came out here to San Diego, like I told you guys, about 2012. Yeah. And one of the first beers I tried was you guys coffee nitro, or nitro coffee in the brown can. And it stood out to me, and I immediately grabbed it. And second chance means a lot to me. But how did you guys come up with the name Second Chance?
Well, originally we thought about the aspect of us basically working in one brewery our whole for me 17 years with Rock Bottom.
Right.
So the idea started to kind of come up as our second chance.
Okay.
And we quickly realized how that really resonates with everybody. Everyone knows what second chance means.
Right.
And you don't always get one, but when you do, it's a fortunate moment.
Right.
And it's a time to for you to step up and take a sport metaphor. Yeah, take a swing, take another swing, and
right.
So we just find ourselves very fortunate, and to not only be doing something we love, but to be in San Diego, being able to kind of grow up with the San Diego beer culture,
right,
over the last 20 years. Yeah, we're just very, very fortunate, very, very grateful to be involved in and doing something we love like this.
Right. So you guys got some unique names for your beers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, some of them, when it makes sense, it reflects the idea of a second chance. Like our flagship IPA, Seize the IPA, you got to get it in when you can get it in.
Right.
Mulligan, of course. I mean, it is an Irish red, so Mulligan, but also Mulligan and golf. And that was kind of an easy. Just definitely made sense for kind of a second chance theme. Tabula Rasa, the two-time award-winning porter.
The two-time.
Back-to-back gold medals in 2016, 2017.
Hey. Not just two though.
Not just two though. Those aren't the only two. But blank slate in Latin is what Tabula Rasa means. So we don't like sit down and brainstorm super hard every time. It has to be like a second chance name. But when it fits, and so we use that theme when it makes sense.
How did we come up with
Disco Balloon? That is the ultimate second chance. No, I don't know. That one does not have a second chance theme. I gotta admit, but it's a pretty can.
Right.
They don't always have a second chance theme, but like Fool Me Twice, our double IPA.
Yes.
That's kind of a fun, tongue-in-cheek one.
Right.
Because it is very. I mean, Marty is, as you've noticed, known for being very smooth, very skilled brewer, and so Fool Me Twice, it is 8.8, or actually no, now we're taking it up to 9. Marty just redid the recipe, and we have it coming out, I think next week. You guys are gonna keg it, and it's now 9%, but it's super smooth. Like, it's great hoppy flavor, but you would not guess it's that strong. Hence, Fool Me Twice was a perfect name.
Fool Me Twice.
Yeah, Fool Me Twice. It's a great double IPA.
So I know you guys have a beer that's called, which I don't know if this is a second chance as well, but there's one that's called All You Need Is Love.
All You Need Is Love.
Talk to us a little bit more about that. I mean, what's the notes on that one, and how'd you guys come up with that one?
Well, that was actually kind of an industry-wide thing that came. Was it 2000? Was it 16, Marty? 2016 or 2017?
16.
I think it's 2016. If you guys remember the tragedy in Florida, the shooting at the club. So a lot of San Diego breweries got together and wanted to brew. It wasn't the same style, but everyone used All You Need Is Love, and we donated to the relief in Florida. And so we continue. It's not a year-round beer for us. We ended up our second anniversary beer. I think that was around. Yeah, well, it makes sense. It was 2016. We use that as our name for our second anniversary beer. We have a non-barrel aged version of it. It's Scotch Ale. All You Need Is Love Scotch Ale, and then we did a barrel aged version also for our second anniversary. So that's where the name came from. A lot of San Diego breweries were involved in that. I know Carl Strauss was big in it, but a ton of breweries helped to donate a part of their proceeds from that particular beer that they brewed for Florida. Okay. So it's definitely about second chances there. I mean, there's definitely a strong tie in there.
Yeah.
Not directly with the name, but we love that
We brew
idea.
it once a year at least, and in fact we have some different barrels of All You Need Is Love Scotch Ale that will come out as a barrel experience here shortly. We were just tasting them the other day. We have some in Cutwater rum barrels.
Okay.
That's great.
And some in Cutwater bourbon barrels.
So good.
So we're probably gonna do a little blend of the rum. Barrel really kind of accentuates some of the brown sugar notes of the Scotch Ale, using a good amount of caramelized malts.
Right.
And the rum definitely, being made from sugar itself, is the barrel tends to sweeten up the beer, and then the bourbon barrel has a little bit more of a bourbon, impact or a bite. I hate to use the word bite sometimes. It can be negative, but I mean just that little more not so sweet, that more dry, bourbon kind of character.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys out there that are at-home brewers, right? And everybody wants to brew beer, especially if you're here in San Diego. Craft beer is a huge thing. I have a buddy of mine who's, he's trying to go all in as far as home brewing and stuff like that. Anything that you guys would say to a person like him is that, okay, some things to look out for, this is what you want to do, this is what you not want to do, pay attention to this, or anything like that?
Yeah, cleanliness. Cleanliness for sure, and really having a controlled temperature fermentation.
Right.
It's more expensive. Versus just having a fermenter sitting on the ground in your garage, and then the heat that's involved during fermentation can create a lot of, undesirable off flavors.
Sure.
So spending a few bucks on controlled fermentation, keeping your ales at typically around 68 or 67 degrees. So every time I've judged homebrew contests, the ones that win, typically they have less defects from phenolic tastes, flavors that might come from bacteria contamination somewhere in the process of their lines or their hoses or whatever. And so it's typically comes down to cleanliness and the fermentation temperature.
So would you say that you kind of want to keep your area like an operating room, pretty much sanitized, cleaned? I don't want to necessarily use the word pristine, but you definitely want to have it clean, where you don't have any issues, where you don't have any, like you say, any kind of bacteria buildup around certain areas or whatever.
No, I mean, our place is I would definitely not operate in our brewery. But
don't operate in your breweries. We don't condone any kind of operation.
No open heart surgeries
in the brewery, please.
But obviously keeping things clean and keeping like dust down, and but really focusing on what matters when anything that the beer is going to touch. So any parts, so tanks, obviously parts, hoses, things like that. It's important for them to be just cleaned properly first, and then sanitized. You can't really sanitize something that's dirty, so it needs to be cleaned properly first, and then sanitized. But no, actually, some of the most famous beers in the world breweries have developed from quite the opposite. Really, like opening up their doors and pumping the beer into large open fermenters called cool ships.
Okay.
Well, the cool ship will cool the wort down, and then the fermentation starts. A lot of times they just open up the doors and windows, and the breeze would come through. Okay. And so you would actually get the natural flora from the surrounding areas and countrysides. And I remember hearing a story from one of the main brewers from Cantelan in Belgium, and they asked, why don't you move down the street? There's a bigger warehouse. You can go down a few miles down the road and have a bigger warehouse, make more beer, because everyone wants your beer. It always sells out. And they're just afraid that it's not going to be the same if they move because of that kind of a thing. So yeah, no, definitely being clean in the right way, allowing because once the yeast kind of takes a hold, it really kind of creates a environment that is inhospitable to bacteria. The pH has gotten quite low. Usually it starts around the beginning of fermentation might start around 5.2 pH, but the final beer typically ends up around 4.2. So it's creating an environment. The yeast can really overwhelm any kind of invaders, if you will. So if you just give it a chance to, do what it naturally wants to do, So a lot of times that's what I say. We don't really actually make beer. We kind of guide it in a way to allow what naturally could happen to happen. So we just try to make it happen a little bit more. What we can control, like with fermentation temperatures and things like that, just to get the better flavor. Because otherwise, the yeast just wants to reproduce and ferment, and doesn't really care so much about flavor. We care about flavor, so we try to balance that by, letting them, thrive, but also kind of controlling them in a way to achieve a good growth and good yeast health, but also a good flavor as well.
So, I mean, like, a person like me, I go around to a lot of breweries and distilleries and stuff like that. I try to get my education from guys like you. Is there, there's a root to everything. How beer got started, right? Is there somewhere that you would say that some brewery that people need to go to get a real good explanation and lesson and teaching about brewing beer? like for instance, I just saw something the other day. I think it was Bar Rescue, and he took some of the people from the bar to Anheuser-Busch and showed them the process, because Anheuser-Busch, I believe, is one of the oldest brewing companies that are around. Like I said, one of them. I'm not sure which one is the oldest. But would you suggest people go to something like that to kind of get a real backlog of education about this? Or should they start with somebody like you guys, which is kind of small, but you're more able to show the process versus something being 55,000 square feet?
I think there's great stuff to be learned at both. I mean, they're, at least in our country, which is a lot younger than in Europe, where they've been doing it for a lot longer than anyone here. But you definitely can't knock the big domestic breweries in this country for one thing, and that's regardless of whether you like the styles of the beers they're brewing, they are excellent at it. They've been doing it a long time, and at this point, they have a lot of money, so they have been doing it for years. They have a lot of technology behind it. They are very consistent. You might not like to use a food example. McDonald's versus In-N-Out.
Right.
I mean, I prefer In-N-Out. Not that I'm reinventing the wheel there. A lot of people would. But a place like McDonald's has it down. Whether you're at McDonald's, in any part of the country or any part of the world, they do it the same every time. They know what they're doing. Same in the beer world, and you don't have to be a big, massive brewery like Anheuser-Busch to be good at that. But so to answer your question, I mean, yeah, absolutely. The large breweries, I mean, they are very consistent. The beer, the beer you get in a Coors Light can here in San Diego versus anywhere in the country, it's going to be, pretty imperceptible differences, assuming the beer was kept cold, which we all want in the whole supply chain. But the quality of the product is top notch. Whether or not you like to drink that style,
right.
You might want an IPA or a porter, and maybe not a super light beer. Although I love light beer. We have an Over the Line Lager, which is a great easy drinking beer. But you can also learn those things at a local level. I think part of it is. If anyone, you mentioned homebrewers, if they're thinking about making the leap to production, I mean, earlier when I mentioned like the guys in Society came, they were incredibly well versed. Their backgrounds were great, but they also did their homework before they opened and talked to people, and we did the same thing. And so usually, when you're in the industry and you talk to somebody else in the industry, if you give it a good 10-15 minutes, you can kind of tell like, does this person actually care about what they're doing? Do they know the process? That can be true at a local level, our size, on up to the larger guys in town, Stone, or all the way up to Anheuser-Busch. So I think all those things can be learned. It's just doing your homework. Where you can get to too. If you're local, you kind of have to travel to what's near you.
Right.
It's hard to get. It might be hard for a lot of people to get out to all parts of the country, but that's kind of how I view it. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say don't pass up a brewery tour at, like Coors, for instance, in Golden, Colorado. I've done that a couple of times, and it's great.
It's great.
They have some of the most sophisticated equipment and highly trained people, brewers, scientists there. But yeah, you don't need all that if you're not going. Depends what you're doing. They're putting beer all around the world,
right?
And we're focusing on. And many of us of our size are focusing on regional beers.
Right.
So it's still, I think, important to have, to look at your yeast and we have a basic lab set up, but not very sophisticated equipment, simple microscope and things that we can do to monitor.
And hopefully everybody saw the pictures of that I posted up, so everybody can see, probably be able to put together what you're talking about now. Yeah.
But and then also different beers have different purposes and shelf lives and things. Some beers can really withstand a package for many years and develop over time. Others are not meant for that, and they're meant to be drank fresh. And so yeah, it just depends. But I would say not to pass up a big brewery like that. That's quite something to see.
Right.
How kind of a operation they have to be able to do that and to make such consistent product when you have a can in New York or San Diego or Tokyo. Right. It's like it always tastes
a little bit different.
It always tastes. No, I was going to say it always tastes so much the same. Yeah.
Okay.
That they have such great blending techniques and ways of doing things to achieve that kind of thing. But craft beer, quite frankly, we're not so concerned about that.
Right.
We kind of like the variations, and so I don't think people are so focused on having the exact same.
No, because they just want to get drunk. They want the ABV.
Well,
that's all they're looking for.
Well, that's part of it too, but just the wide variety of style and brewing styles, and different regions, different different water. Like it's the variation's fun. I mean, that, like Marty said, that's kind of what we enjoy.
So I gotta pay a couple of bills here, guys. One is that you guys know that we are here at Excalibur Cigar Lounge, right here in Kearney Mesa, San Diego, California. One of the finest bars that you will be able to find all your great smokes, any scotch, bourbon, rum, tequila that you can possibly think of. Come on in, join us. I'm always here at least 4 to 5 days out of the week. You'll always find this pretty face. So come on down and check us out, man. We're open 7 days a week, opening at 10 o'clock each and every day. We're even open on Memorial Day. So that's, I won't be here, but we are open, you guys. So come on down and join us. And also, you guys, don't forget, Barrels and Lease is hosting a huge event. It's called the Social Media Megahertz. I don't know if I told you guys about it, but what we're doing is that we have people all around the country who are going to be putting on a live show, kind of what we're doing now on Facebook, and they are going to have different giveaways: t-shirts, hats, glasses, beers, and wines, and all kind of cool stuff. So I got a couple people around the country who are actually putting this on for us. And shout out to the sponsors that we actually have. I'm sorry that you guys aren't a sponsor. Maybe we can work on something next time.
Sure.
But shout out to Steve Saka of Dunbar Tobacco and Trust, Abnormal Beer Company, and Sinistro Cigars, Exquisite Wine and Cigars. And we just picked up a charity sponsor, which is Line of Duty Cigars. And for those of you guys that don't know about Line of Duty Cigars, great company, put on by Tom Werther. And Line of Duty Cigars, basically, he's a retired detective from New York. And the cigar line that he has, I don't say every, but part of the proceeds from him selling the cigars, ashtrays, and all of his accessories, part of that percentage goes to the families of fallen firefighters, police officers, and soldiers' families. And he also donates cigars to all the troops that are overseas. So big shout out to Line of Duty Cigars for coming on board and allowing us to give our proceeds to them as well. So, but yeah, I definitely want to do that. But I wanted to ask you guys a serious question here, and I'll let either one of you guys go first. If you could be a beer, which one would you be?
Interesting question. No one's ever asked that. Could be a beer. What would I be?
Like, for instance, for me, I'm more of a stout guy.
Okay.
Not because I have an overbearing stature, but I think that what I hopefully give to people is something that is of quality, something that is strong, hopefully this show is giving people something of quality, some kind of strength, something that they can go out to and be able to be a little bit more educated and talk to people more about. So that's why I would think that I would be a stout.
I would have to say, I think I would probably be an English style brown ale.
Not an Italian?
No. Well, I mean, they're doing some fun stuff in Italy, actually. We can talk about that if you like. But I would say no, English brown. It's like when you first look at it, it's kind of simple. Usually not very high in alcohol, 4.5%, 5%. But then when you get into it, it can have really nice complex caramel notes from various caramel malts, a little bit of chocolate malt or roasted malts like you would have in a porter or stout,
Right.
but pulled back a little bit, more restrained, and just very, very pleasant. Goes with all kinds of food, especially
Back to food we
Pairs
go.
well with all foods.
I don't know any like pork dish, bacon that doesn't go with an English brown ale. Yeah,
Bacon goes good with everything.
pretty much.
Yeah.
How about you,
Curtis?
Natty Light?
He's
Yeah.
had time.
Probably like, yeah, no, I was gonna make that joke.
I
I
want
would
to think about this.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. That's funny. No, I've never even. No one's ever asked that. I would say, I would say, oddly enough, a Belgian beer, only because I think in terms of who drinks them, they're definitely fairly acquired, and Belgian yeast is a lot of people either kind of love it or hate it. So it's like I think that reminds a lot of people of me. It's pretty
Love or hate you? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty not for everyone. A little acquired. You get what you get. You either love it or you leave it.
Right.
So for that reason alone, I think any Belgian-based beer would be an appropriate call for me. I don't know if I think Marty knows what I'm talking about.
Well, I can say from just our couple of meetings, I can say that your beer fits you, and I can definitely say that your beer fits you. I can see that. So I do see those. I do see those very,
Nice.
very easily. But I mean,
Great question.
just for all sakes and purposes, I love you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
But no, you guys, please make sure that if you are local, man, get on down to Second Chance Brewery. I'll let you guys give all the information on that, where you guys are located, phone numbers, websites, social media. You guys go ahead and take that one.
Yeah, well, everything's on the web on secondchancebeer.com. But the main thing to know is our brewery is located in Carmel Mountain Ranch, right off the 15,
Right.
tucked up against Rancho Bernardo and Poway, and it's a large, 15,000 square foot warehouse with the brewery mainly in the back, and quite a large tasting room area.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a number of events, private parties, and meetings that happen there because we have enough space
Right.
to accommodate. We just had a wonderful event called the Veterans Beer Club. Some guys that were hanging out in our tap room 3 years ago decided to start a beer club, and then I think they wanted to just take it to the next level. Instead of just getting together and sampling beers around the county, one guy said, "Well, I have a job. I need to fill,"
Mm-hmm.
and so they've kind of taken it as their mission to help veterans find job placements once they get out of
Yep.
service. And so they just had their 3-year anniversary at our tasting room, and there was over 200 people
Very nice.
came to this. It was standing room only,
Yeah.
and wonderful. So we're very, very grateful for people like that to come through.
Right.
And then our tasting room down in North Park, much more small, cozy.
Mm-hmm.
Some lounge, loungy couches and things like we have here at Excalibur,
Mhm.
and just much more simple tasting room, place to try some of our beers. And then of course we're in stores now, so we have it's really cool to see our cans at places like Whole Foods and
Right.
Vons and Albertsons, and all the the awesome craft beer
Mm-hmm.
shops like Bottle Craft.
Yes.
They've been great supporters of us
Yeah.
since the beginning.
Absolutely.
And
Barron's is great to us. We just had they do a
Barron's, yeah.
quarterly food and beer pairing at Barron's,
Yes.
only once a quarter, and we just did it this last week, and it was great. So,
Yeah, I was supposed to be there. I couldn't get there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
they're also great to us. Bristol Farms, Lazy Acres, they've been really good to us since the beginning. And like Marty mentioned, a lot of beers at the tap room. We have usually give or take 20-ish, 18 to 20 beers on tap at the tap rooms. Like I mentioned earlier, we launched Arizona in February, so we're mostly in the Phoenix metro right now, but definitely getting beer out to Tucson, Flagstaff, places like that. Working on Orange County right now. Other than the two flagship beers we have here, Tabula Rasa and Mulligan, we also have Over the Line Lager, available year-round in cans. Our CC IPA, Clever Hoppy Name is our Pale Ale, 5.6, great beer. Those are the other three that we have year-round. So, yeah, we're around. Find us.
You guys are moving. You guys are moving. So that's awesome. And you guys are on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Second Chance
Beer. Well,
Okay.
Second Chance Beer.
Second Chance Beer.
Yeah.
All right. And you guys got to check out the facility, man. Very, very nice. So jump on their social media, man. Second Chance Beer, Instagram, Facebook. You guys on Twitter as well?
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Snapchat at all?
We don't really Snapchat.
Okay, we don't. I don't either.
What's that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know it's popular. We don't.
But yeah.
We have yet to Snapchat.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of hard to get into. But yeah, you guys get on, check them out, man. I mean, they're all over the place. They're doing great things. Like you said, you know, the Veterans Beer Club. You talked to me about that as we were there at the facility. Awesome. And great guys, man. As you guys can see, very knowledgeable. Able to sit down and just talk to you just like regular people. And really do appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you very, very much for coming out here to Excalibur Cigar Lounge. Next time we'll have to do something at your facility.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, may not be able to smoke unless we can make some kind of arrangements.
We could close the place down or something.
I have to bring enough people. To make it worth the while.
Yeah.
So, like I was telling you, I think that we're gonna get together with some guys, and they know some guys, and so we'll try to make this a whole big happy affair. So we'll make this fun. But no, definitely thank you guys. Thank you for joining, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate. We appreciate.
I held on to the end.
Right on. There we go. No, thank you guys for joining us, and stay tuned. Like I said, June 8th, we will be at Habano's Cigar and Cafe Lounge, and on the 15th, again, you will be a part of the social media megahertz presented by Barrels and Leafs, and there will be a week off from there as I roll into IPCPR, so you guys will get a lot of footage from the cigar trade show, and we will see you guys very, very soon. And please make sure that you share, and don't forget also, by the way, Excalibur Cigar Lounge is having a photo contest with Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. So people have to take a picture with their favorite Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, and you're gonna basically hashtag Excalibur Cigar Lounge, and we are going to choose the winners at the end of the month, and they're gonna get a free box of cigars just for taking a picture, and it's gonna be sent out from Steve Saka, the owner himself.
That's great.
It's gonna be autographed and everything. So you guys make sure that you take advantage of that, and get your cigars out there, get your drinks going. Hopefully you guys had a great time today. Please enjoy your holiday. Memorial Day is around the corner on Monday. So you guys please be safe, drink responsibly, smoke well, and we'll see you guys next time hanging Barrels and Leafs. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good job, guys.
Oh. That's great.
Yep, we can smoke cigars and talk.
Great combination. Yeah, I can do
You
that.
know, and if you have the video,